Well, my name is Lauren Megaw. I'm head of investor relations, and I'm here today talking about Reyna Silver, which is a junior exploration company focused on high-grade, big-scale silver projects, Mexico and Nevada. And what we do is we take what we refer to as an ore systems approach. So we're looking at these things as complete systems, and the idea is that's how you make the big discoveries. That's how you make the ones that change the game and move the market.
I hope so. We hope that's what you're going to be doing.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Hey, well, here we are. We're up in the mountains. You're here doing, a number of meetings, like a lot of meetings at the moment. So silver's still in vogue, no matter what the market's selling us at the moment. So what do you want to get out of this whole conference?
So, the goal for us at this conference is to get out the word about Reyna Silver, about our 4 projects, the potential that we see, as well as share the results that we had from our recent drilling campaign at Batopilas, crazy high-grade silver mineralization. And then on top of that, sharing and introducing people to our new Gryphon project. So, we've got 4 big boys that we're playing with, and we'll see who takes it off.
But I think that's the interesting thing for me at the moment, because obviously the market's been brutal out there. Brutal for precious metals, especially. Everyone wants to be a lithium company at the moment, it seems, but silver's had a tough run of it. How do you, as a small company now, go after 4 big projects at the same time? Because this is about best allocation of capital. So what's the plan? So,
the plan for us is sort of twofold. One, the reason why we have 4 projects. The idea there is you want to have a portfolio. You don't want to be in a binary situation. You don't want to make it or break it off of a single one. The other component is, for instance, with Gryphon, we picked it up because it's this huge gold, silver, and critical metals. It's the kind of project that becomes available when we're in this part of the market. So we seized the opportunity. And the other thing that having multiple projects give us is steady news flow, right? So we can move forward our Nevada project during the summer, whereas in Mexico, there's not this thing called snow. So, it's easier for us to drill down there. It's cheaper to drill in Mexico as well. And so what we do is we move them forward. And then the idea is, at some point, maybe one of them really takes off. And I guess the big thing that you can think of as sort of what we're doing is look at the company that we based our philosophy off of. That's Mag Silver, right? They started with 3 projects, actually 2 of the projects that Reyna Silver has, so Guigui and Batopilas. And then they had Juanicipio, where they made a massive discovery. It's now one of the world's highest grade largest primary silver producers. And they had a portfolio. That one said, hey, I should be the star. And then that one was prioritized. But they still moved the other projects forward when the market and sort of where they were in the space worked. And that served them pretty well.
Right. There's lots of people I want to be like, but I'm never going to be like. So it comes back to what are you going to do about it? Yes. I get the kind of, you can alternate headlines and it's risk, you're de-risking in terms of jurisdictional component, right? That's great. But it
in terms of how we're doing it,
capital, right? Because you've got to say, how do I create value in each one of these in a way which is going to meet my business plan? Because if it just goes on and on and on and on, you're going to run out of capital. People are going to run out of interest because it's getting an old tired story now. So can we just focus on what's the flagship? I mean, what's the one which is you think this is the one?
So our main project is Guigui, but we're being strategic with our capital allocation because, like you said, we don't want to just keep pushing things. So we had big results there. We did big geophysics there. We're putting those together to develop strategic drill targets. And in the meantime, what we did is we moved forward the Batopilas project.
Right.
We intersected recently a whole new silver vein. So we'll be figuring out which direction we need to move there, as well as over 9 meters of over 600 grams silver. Okay. So that's an example of a project that says, hey, I need attention, but simultaneously, because we 100% own Batopilas and Guigui and Medicine Springs after this new drilling campaign, we'll have 100% of that one as well.
Right.
We will take that into consideration on maybe we need to be focusing on Gryphon, or if Batopilas really shows itself, we will divert focus there.
Right.
Right now, part of what we're doing at Beaver Creek is getting a feel for where the market is, how we should properly be timing this, because, in an ideal world, magical fantasy land, we'd move all 4 projects in tandem.
Sure.
But
that's the conversation I like with companies, because there is no easy ride. It's mining, right? It's mining.
Exactly.
Right. So let's come back to the recent drilling, okay? Because I guess that's a little bit more exciting because it was insane kind of numbers. So let's focus on that, and maybe I kind of go through the other 3 separately. So what do we need to know about last week's press release and the numbers?
So at Batopilas, you're in a district that produced 300 million ounces, and the main ore mineral was native silver. Do you know what have you seen native silver?
Well, I think we're going to.
Can I
This is
show
my
you?
favorite bet.
Can I show you my first rock?
Come on then.
All right, hold your hand out.
Right, okay, so that's heavy.
That's
heavy.
native silver.
And what's in this?
That is
Fucking
silver. No, so think about silver is typically a gregarious metal. It likes to hang out with other things. It wants to hang out with sulfides and arsenic and all these other things. What makes Batopilas special is that that is just, I'll need that back at the end. Thank you very much.
That's good.
And so because of that, you have a situation where historically they used a stamp mill and they produced fine silver. So it is just AG. It's not, needing processing to get the silver out. That's sort of when we say native silver.
Right.
In the same way that when people talk about gold likes to hang out by itself. What makes Batopilas special is the silver likes to hang out by itself. And what got us excited by the recent drill results is that based off of the systematic year-long program that we did, doing good geology, making sure we were strategic with those drilling dollars, we did structural work, sampling program, geophysics, put those together, and this area between 2 of the biggest veins in the district popped up as an area of interest, and we hit 0.2 meters of 6,440 grams silver.
Right.
That's a crazy high number. But that's not why we're excited about it. What we're excited about is that how the Batopilas historic ore bodies worked, is they would go from being these tight veins like this, and then over the course of 1 to 8 meters, they would balloon out to be the whole structure 3 to 5 meters wide with a native silver core that's 1.5 meters to 2 meters. Okay. This was what was in there.
Okay.
30 to 80 meters on level, hundreds of meters down. And then it would pinch back out for 30 to 80 meters, blow back out again. And so when you're running into what we discovered there in an area that has no historic workings, has no known vein, we think that we found one of these tighter structures.
Right. So that's essentially that diagram's also in your presentation. So it's worth looking at because it's complicated, right? Because it comes back to high grade narrow veins, quite expensive to go chasing after. You've got to believe that it expands out and it's going to be slightly more economic to mine, right? Okay, so that's happened. What does that change your mind in terms of the drill plans, mining plans, drill plans, or the drill modeling, as it were?
Yeah, so it's sort of in tandem there. One, the other aspect on the same drill program was 3 meters from surface. We intersected 30 meters of silver mineralization, including 9 meters that runs 616 grams silver. That's massive for the Batopilas district in terms of width. And so, that's an area that we're going to be looking at more. And the thing to remember, or I should have touched on earlier realistically, is the reason we did that systematic program at Batopilas was because for the first time in the district, place where the Spanish went in looking for gold, found high-grade silver, Reyna Silver went in and we found gold mineralization, over 3.5 meters of over 8 grams gold. So our next drill target zone is actually in the silver gold zone.
Right.
And we'll be looking at what we just did in the silver zone, pulling that together and figuring out how to make sure that when we are drilling and trying to find one of these things, we're setting ourselves up for the best chance at success, right? Geology is geology, so there can always be curveballs, but by taking a diligent and disciplined approach to our exploration, we feel that we can de-risk it.
Right. How much money have you got?
5.4 million.
Right. Okay. 4 projects, 5.4 million. Given this needs, are you redirecting capital here? Because this is in the backdrop of a really difficult market.
Yeah.
Okay?
So, I mean, realistically, we are currently still drilling at our Medicine Springs projects in Nevada, right? So depending on the results there, that will determine who the star pony or the star of the show is, realistically. You know, Batopilas is giving a pretty good case for it to be the star.
But early days.
Yeah. We're currently drilling at Medicine. We need to wait for the results from there, because if we get fantastic results from Medicine, I don't want to be able to say, you know, have said that, you know, Batopilas is our focus, and yet, you know, it turns out Medicine.
But you come from dizzy heights, right? So here, you know, you shot out of the gate real quick, and like say, like everyone, come off a lot. But the point is, you now are getting to that period where you have to make difficult decisions about, you know, not just where do you spend your money, but when do you stop spending money? And
correct.
You know, maybe we need some strategic partners. Maybe we need some new people. Maybe we JV it. Maybe we spin it. All of that stuff, which a year ago you wouldn't be really thinking about.
And it's something that we're thinking about, and it's something, you know, we're having those conversations, because, you know, one of the big things with strategics is that if you go to them when you need them, it's too late. So, you know, how do you get ahead of the 8 ball? How do you get yourself set up so that way, you know, the conversations have started? Because you can always say no. It's hard to open up the conversation when you're in a position of not...
you've got the leverage.
I do, exactly.
Right, okay. So knowing that, have those discussions started? Because 4 assets, let's be realistic, you can't move them all forward properly without some help, some input, right?
So we'll that's something that we're looking at, right? Okay. And like, that's going to be a big focus for us this year, is to make sure that we are respecting our investors and we're doing our due diligence and being proactive.
Right, okay. And let's look at Mexico versus Nevada. Nevada, both well-known districts.
Yes, I was going to say.
Long history in Mexico, and Nevada's not too shabby either. But of recent times, as with South America, every now and again, socialist undertones, and maybe the government's making it difficult, maybe it's not. What's the reality on the ground in Mexico as far as you're concerned?
So our thought process, and you know, we're lucky. Our CEO is Jorge Romero Monroy. He's Mexican, so you know, and he's well connected, so we have some ideas about what's going on. And you know, the big thing right now is that there's a lot of uncertainty about what's going on with the new mining law. There's a lot of questions that are working their way through the courts. One of the great things about the projects we have in Mexico is we have all the claims. It's 100% owned, and they're in a great jurisdiction that is, you know, pro-mining on a general sense. We're keeping an eye. The big thing, and for what investors can pay attention to, is what happens with the election. So last week, the primaries happened. So the incumbent and the opposition parties have both selected their presidential candidates. And, you know, the big thing will be to see who ends up being the leader of the Mexican government, and, you know, see how that affects.
But what are some of the conversations out there? I mean, is there cause for nervousness if one party gets in, not the other?
You know, it's two factors. One, it takes a while for a mine to become something, to go from an exploration to going into production, right? So there is that component that we're keeping in mind, that, you know, even if you're in a situation where someone who's less pro-mining gets in power, there's only one term. So there's a 6-year period before change of government and whatever flexibility comes there. The other component is, if you're going to go looking for silver, you go to Mexico. I mean, it really is. There's a reason that of the 16 big districts,
I get that.
you know,
of course.
9.
It's a big history, long history of it. But the question is, who owns it? That's what I'm getting at.
So in terms of the likelihood, in part because of who owns the mining companies, and there's a lot of big private mining companies, the likelihood of the government coming in and saying this belongs to us is pretty low, because the amount of internal opposition from Mexicans would be significant. Or at least that is our perception and our understanding.
Jobs are jobs. Money's money. Tax is tax. Let's see what happens. We've been through, I think this will be not the first time we're talking about this in the context of Mexico, but we've seen this, further south, obviously, with Chile and Peru and Colombia and et cetera, et cetera. And I get it, but it's where you just have to talk about it.
Yeah.
So people are, okay. Nevada, a little bit easier to do, but you still got to jump through some hoops, but it's a little bit easier to do business there.
But I'll be honest, we're in awesome jurisdictions. I mean, we're in Elko County. We're in Eureka County. We have great relationships with the BLM. We, are able to move these projects forward with the landholders and Gryphon. So, for us, it's one of the reasons why we wanted to diversify our jurisdiction. And you look at Nevada, where the potential for the carbonate replacement style deposits, similar to what we're looking at in Mexico, with our Guigui project, there's big potential in Nevada. So let's take the style of exploration that our team has used to great success in Mexico and bring it up to Nevada and see if we can find something in a jurisdiction that is, investors are really happy with, and in general seems like mining companies are happy with.
Okay. So given that you've got 101 meetings to go to.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I think today for me is one, in meeting you was been fantastic, but two, understanding how the business plan is reshaping itself, and therefore the strategy is having to adjust accordingly. Yeah. We know where we are with capital, because that's the enabler here. But what do we as investors need to be focused on? What do you think is really important? I'm not looking at the market number. I'm not looking at silver. I'm not looking at any of that. I'm just saying, you as a company, how are you going to survive? How are you going to win? Why should we be looking at it?
Yeah. Now, maybe this is because I come from a geology background. So I will always lean to geology as being the thing that can make the big winner, because realistically, junior companies are values discovery driven. Discovery through the drill bit. We know that costs money. But in terms of what's really going to move Reyna is going to be a big discovery. And whether that's something that we can do ourselves when we 100% own something, or whether or not we have to bring in a strategic, whether it's equity or JV, so that we can make that big discovery, that's what's going to really move the needle. And this year, I would say for like the next 12 months, the things to keep an eye on would be what we're doing at Medicine Springs and the results that come out of there, as well as what we end up deciding to do with Batopilas.
Okay, and some of us come back to you if we interview again. As a geologist, your definition of a discovery is what? Because I've heard it all.
Okay, so I am very biased in terms of what I consider to be a discovery, because in second grade, my dad hit on hole 1 with mag silver, Dr. Peter Megaw, the top of the Wanasipio vein. That thing is now going into production, and it is something that legitimately the economics say this should be in production. So we use things like Archie's rule for, do we consider something high grade? Because high grade is such a nebulous term, as you know. So, we see high grade silver taking into account operating costs and how that shifts. And mathematically, the higher grade you have, the better. So it's the reason why we use sort of a cutoff for what we consider high grade to be 300 grams silver, because below that, the economics start getting tight. You're also looking for scale, because realistically, the metal market is cyclic. You have, silver can go to whatever your nightmare is, and you want to have a project with high enough grade that it can survive through that. But it also has to have enough scale that when the market turns around and goes to whatever an investor's personal idea where it could go is, that's where you make the big money, right? That's where you're able to party all night if that's what you want to do. And, but it has to be high enough grade that you can sleep at night too. when things are down. So, those are sort of the parameters that we use. So that's why we talk about big scale and high grade, because we're not playing around. We're not looking for something little that can eke by. We're looking for something that changes the game.
Good stuff. Good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And we'll see you soon.
Appreciate it.